Trippers of Reddit, which customers do you hate? And what aspects of the job do people probably not know? I used to work with a girl who tripped on the side. During a lap dance, a guy offered to buy her braces 0.0. Customers I hated. Guys that grunt during a lap dance shudder. My favorite customer was one that we called Deodorant Guy. He would come into the club with a stick of Degree deodorant, pay for a lap dance, just to watch me slowly apply deodorant to my underarms. He loathed the word armpits. The best part was when he would excitedly clap his hands and say it's time for the sticky test, and he would push $100 bills, one at a time, into my underarm, and if it stuck, it was mine. When he would walk into the club, all of the other girls would avoid him, but I saw his visits as a breakaway from the typical creeps that came in. He never wanted to be touched, wasn't interested in seeing me topless. He had such a kind nature, and I made at least $500 in an hour or so for simply putting on deodorant. Oh, I can't leave out the commercials. He also tipped big for deodorant commercials. I would just hold a stick of Degree and, in my Shrek's East commercial voice, say after a long hard night, I reach for Degree antiperspirant to cool me off, or something along those lines. My friend works in a trip club, and apparently it takes actual effort to stay sober. She gets free drinks all night long, bought by patrons, not given away, and it's rude to turn down a drink from a paying customer. Getting wasted is part of the job, and she's just a waitress. The dancers get all that and free drugs. She's told stories about more than one occasion where she's seen trippers snort coke off a man's dong. What are the expected tip levels? Like, for a dance, I know that it's common to tuck a couple singles in her G-string, or to lay them on the stage, but a couple of times I've been at a club and a tripper would sit down with us and start talking and then act offended when I didn't tip her. I didn't know, I swear, but I don't even know what would be appropriate. Bikini top flung over her on the door to the champagne room signals to staff working is going on and not to enter. Really drunk women who make awkward messes of themselves trying to dance with me. It's embarrassing for everyone involved, like putting costumes on cats. Generally anyone very drunk is annoying. Not that that's news to anyone, I guess. Other drugs are mostly not much better. There's nothing wrong with a good stoner, but I've had plenty of clingy chicks on ecstasy, creepy gays on meth, etc. One lady I gave a lap dance to went home and slit her husband's throat, then killed herself and mentioned me in her suicide note. Another lady hired me to trip at a party, supposedly with her boyfriend's grudging permission. Then he spent the whole party being a dong and we ended up getting in a fight, so I beat his ass in my thong. People constantly wanting to snort coke off your ass is one aspect of the job that many don't know about. Ex-tripper here. The customers I hated were the ones that got obsessive. I had a guy who would drive by my house. He ran my tag numbers. I have no idea how. This man, who was about 70, would tell me what cars I had at my house. When I mowed my grass ECT, I had to repeatedly tell him to leave me alone. After about 5 years he finally did. There were a few others as well. Not that bad, but they would show up with flowers and presents. I also hated it when men would grab my hips during a lap dance and try to push me down on them harder, like I was some sort of living hump doll. It's just rude behavior. I hated it when the young guys thought that, because they were young, meant they had a shot with me, or that they should somehow be given discounts, or kisses, or phone numbers. They would get pretty aggressive sometimes. I really just shouldn't have ever been a tripper. I hated it from the beginning. I have social anxiety, although it's not nearly as bad as it used to be. I also hate stupid, and that isn't hard to find in trip clubs. As far as aspects of the job people don't know, I'm not too sure. In every dressing room I've been in, those girls are trashing the hell out of the guys out there, and talking about how much they want to go home to their boyfriend and/or child. My friend, age 45, was the bouncer for a trip club in Houston. I went up to visit him one time and I was asking him to tell me some crazy stories he has from working there. There was a regular customer who was on the older side, around his early 70s. He has been coming there for years. Well, there was something off about this guy. He had a colostomy bag, and often got lap dances from the ladies there. One time a new girl who had never danced for him before somehow managed to dislodge the damn thing. There was fecal matter on him, and it leaked through his shirt onto her. The place reeked. She ended up leaving never to return again, and he came back the following week. He also mentioned guys stalking the dancers and following them home after they finish up their shift. They are escorted out and there is constant surveillance on the parking lot looking for creepers. I work in Portland, where there are more strip clubs per capita than any other city in the US. This means that we have a very large and varied collection of clubs and girls that work in them. I have worked with so many incredible girls. By and large, they are smart, considerate, hilarious, and more put together than the girls I worked with in kitchens before. We also get pretty competitive, in a kind-hearted way most of the time. There are some pole acrobatics and feature set competitions that we get together and cheer each other on for, and we make sure to check in with one another during a work night. All in all, I absolutely love my job. I was a bouncer for a while. Probably not the perspective you're looking for, but the new girls would come in, thinking it would be fun and Shreksy, easy money, right? Then they get grabbed on by drunk old fat men, followed to their car or even home, recognized in public with their families or kids. Sure, they make their own choices, but in my experience it ruined many women. They come in starry-eyed and feeling Shreksy, but after a few months, they're not the same. In the end, I couldn't deal with seeing it endlessly repeat. You asked. I wasn't a fan of Indian men. A large percentage of them would try to get away with as much as they could for as little as they could. They would not listen to the rules I would give them for lap dances. I eventually just said no to our requests for lap dances from Indians. They would grab me and try to force me to do things that were out of bounds. Young guys were a bit of a pain, because they acted entitled to your attention, because they're in the same age bracket. But usually they just told me how my friends, the other dancers, were so ugly compared to me. Obvious pandering, but mean, and then barely paid me a dime for my time attention dancing conversation. Their conversation was very, very limited, very boring. Older men would talk a lot more and were way more interesting. Some of the guys were a bit too intense for my taste. One guy really liked his dirty talk in the lap dance and it just isn't my thing. I didn't hate him, but I found it very distasteful and a little uncomfortable. But hey, it was only a 5-minute lap dance. People probably don't know that many of the girls are just regular girls. Not crazy cheating hoe bags doped up on drugs and alcohol and generally wild and awful. That's the impression I get from many Redditors when trippers come up. Also, how easy it is to bruise your feet when pole dancing. As a dancer in Hollywood, Indians, Pakistanis are cheap and want to grope. Young people may be good looking, but most don't have money. They're drinking a PBR? Don't waste your time talking to them as they are most likely hipster and won't spend a dime. I hate smelly guys, but I will usually put a bit of perfume under my nose to cover the scent. I wear glasses outside the club, but I take them off on stage so I can imagine every guy watching me as my boyfriend to make me look more into it. House fees suck. The majority of the women working at my club, 99%, don't use hard drugs and are alcoholics. My boyfriend used to feel jealous. Now he just shows up and enjoys himself, takes me home and gives me the hard D. Today I had a customer who winked at me. At first I thought he was trying to be sly. Maybe he was having a seizure. There was this whole Egyptian customer who comes in and treats all the women disrespectful. He has asked you why my boobs were so small and if I was pregnant, both while groping the corresponding body part. Most trippers have to sell a certain amount of drinks and lap dances. Help them out. Most also don't make hourly. There's a reason we don't give out a real name. So don't freaking heckle us for it. Call girl and tripper are two different things. If you are sitting at the stage you need to tip. They are dancing for you. Show them appreciation. Don't talk shit about trippers with anyone who works there, including other trippers. It makes you look trashy. You are asking at the wrong time. It's toward the end of the day at they're most likely getting ready for work. Unless you're asking the B-team trippers, and in that case, you don't want to know. Now excuse me while I go help pay for some poor woman's way through college. I was a tripper. I stopped because too many customers treated me like I owed them something. I don't owe them crap. I only give what they pay for. Don't demand more. Anyway, the customers I hated were the ones that smelled terrible, tried to grab me too much and didn't listen to N. But one thing I noticed was that it was always the unattractive ones that did this. The attractive ones were always polite, but I'm probably biased with that one. I hated the smell, grabby, or dirty customers. I ruined a brand new outfit because I fell on a guy during a $5 lap dance. I'm not a graceful person, especially in 6 inches heels, and I didn't realize he was covered in tar. I was less than fond of the guys who assumed I was a whore as well. Some would get seriously angry when I refused to meet them at their hotel. One of my favorite was some guy who was into kinky shit and would wear XYZ's butt slave t-shirt when he was there for her. The girl would have me go pretend to be all into him just so she could come over and scold him. He loved it. Dealing with the other girls was mostly miserable. There's skanks who'll frick a guy in the corner for $10. There's girls who are so homophobic that you accidentally sitting with a guy at the stage when it's her turn will turn her into a screamy, sobbing mess 4 hours afterwards. There's girls who will cut you or rob you if they have a chance. Chicks would hide cat food tins in the lockers of girls they hated to funk up their gear. I saw one girl come back to a lockers full of outfits, cut to ribbons with a razor, because some other girl thought she talked to her regular. 2 girls got in a fight and one kicked the other in the stomach knowing she was pregnant, and yes, the girl lost the baby. She also used the girl's face to smash all 8 mirrors in the locker room. Drama everywhere.